Daniel Negreanu is holding Queen Jack offsuit. He opens to $2,500. That's a bread-and-butter late position open, dominates the Queen 10 and Jack 10 holdings that call too often, has blockers to 3 bets, and plays cleanly post-flop in position. 3 callers flatten with wide, capped ranges, offsuit broadways, suited aces, suited connectors. Paired high card textures heavily favor the pre-flop raiser because he has all the strong Queen X and slow-played overpairs. Many callers arrive with 8x, pocket pairs, floats, or the diamond backdoors. Negreanu continuation bets $6,000 into a multi-way field, small sizing that targets folds from ace-high and underpairs while keeping dominated Queen X and diamond draws in. When Hachem continues, his range is mostly Queen X, pocket pairs stubbornly peeling, and diamond hands. Ace-high floats with backdoor equity also show up. The board double pairs, which is a dream card for the raiser's Queen X. Negreanu's value density jumps because any queen now makes a full house, and his bluffs retain good fold equity against stubborn pocket pairs and busted backdoors. He bets $12,000, again a pressure, but keep worse in sizing. Given action, Hachem is rarely trapping queens. He's weighted to diamonds, ace-high floats, and the occasional pocket pair praying for a river miracle. That river improves a lot of Hashem's floats to 1 pair of aces, but it doesn't dent Negreanu's nut edge. Queens still bowed up, 8s don't exist for Hachem often, and missed diamonds remain abundant. After Hachem checks the 3rd time, Negreanu fires $27,000 for clear value.
As we young internet kids say, you're polarized. Isn't that right, Jose?
Yeah,
it's polarized.
It's
right?
polarized.
You haven't fuffled. Show me one.
Okay. Daniel shows the jack.
I fold.
Oh, damn it.
The loose cannon is looking down on pocket jacks. He puts in the re-raise to $4,200, and that single decision defines everyone else's incentives. From his seat, he is doing 2 things at once: value targeting the opener with a tight, high card-heavy range, and forcing the field to reveal how speculative they're willing to get at price. And Hachem, with a mid-pair, is taking the classic set mine plus pressure line. The price after a 3-bet is not perfect, but against 3 players, the implied odds get juicier, and 7s retain outs against almost anything.
Okay, we all wasted time. We did our little, every one of us, we did the, we're calling.
Yeah, whenever you call everybody knew it was.
We all know we're calling. It's just a little, we're trying to be like Jennifer Tilly there a little bit. Actors.
Oh, yeah.
The loose cannon has just connected in the strongest way possible and chooses stillness over fireworks. He does not need protection on this texture, and in a 4-handed pot, any bet from the pre-flop aggressor looks so credible that it will vacuum the air out of the room. By checking, he invites stories to bloom from worse hands and gives the field a chance to stab into a board they should attack. The turn brings the 4 of hearts, barely nudging ranges, and the checks roll to Hachem. Now he fires $12,000, smart, targeted pressure. He is keying on the universal fear of trips, punishing capped checkbacks, and leveraging position to buy folds from ace-highs and small pairs that hate life facing 2 streets.
That's what you did last time.
When?
12,000.
Last night, Hachem bet 12-5 on the river against the loose cannon. Ken made the call with queens, and Joe showed him 2 pair to take it.
It was 12,500 last time.
Frankowski just calls. Note the elegance. Raising here collapses Hashem's bluffs and isolates only better or folding hands. When you finish the video, comment your favorite moment with the timestamp. It helps with the algorithm, and it makes it easier for us to start a conversation. I reply to all thoughtful comments. Now let's keep watching.
I'm all in.
He's all in.
Call.
4 jacks, I guess.
Phil Hellmuth is looking down on 9-7 offsuit. He limps, which caps his range and invites someone to attack the dead money. Minieri obliges with an isolation raise using a suited king, a great candidate because it has blockers, plays well post-flop, and pushes the button on everyone who limped. Locke and Martinez come along, which pulls the SPR up and widens continuing ranges.
I get unstuck. I get off the tilt juice.
Hard to get off that tilt teat.
Hellmuth overcalls rather than 3-betting, a choice that keeps the pot manageable, preserves positional leverage against the raiser, and allows weaker holdings to realize without facing a big pre-flop decision. This texture is excellent for the pre-flop aggressor. As the only player who routinely shows up with strong King X after raising, Minieri can c-bet profitably. The small sizing pressures ace-high, punishes underpairs, and denies equity to random backdoors while risking little against slow-played traps. Hellmuth check calls instead of raising. That keeps bluffs firing, prevents the pot from ballooning versus the portion of Minieri's range that will not fold, and sets up a decision tree where Hellmuth can choose which turns to accelerate on. Multi-way callers have folded, so we are quickly moving toward a heads-up range battle that favors the in-position player's initiative and the out-of-position player's ability to trap. The second king super polarizes things. From Minieri's seat, this is a green light to barrel because his range contains far more king X than Hellmuth's limp call range. The bet around $5,300 targets exactly the hands that called once and hate life now, medium pairs and stubborn ace high, and it continues to build a pot in case he is ahead. Hellmuth's second check call is strategic. Raising isolates him against very strong holdings and folds out hands that might bluff again. Calling keeps his range wider, invites another polarized river bet, and protects the times he is bluff catching with decent showdown value. From a range math perspective, once the king pairs, the pre-flop raiser's value density increases, which means the out-of-position player should avoid thin raises and lean into induce lines. Nothing material completes, so Minieri retains a nut advantage and chooses a large polar bet of $17,200. That sizing asks a capped range to overdefend, and it puts maximum pressure on one-pair type catchers that arrived here by calling twice.
Oh, man.
Hellmuth's final check call makes sense within that framework. He beats all the natural stabs that gave up drawing equity on the turn.
It's just unreal what happens to me at this place. I mean, I'm just so sick of it, you know? I mean, I had the best on the turn, I had the best on the river. What the is going on in this place? They do me
what the is going on the river? How do you call it? I always think a
trips.
bluff, I only wait for the nuts.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down at 6-5 offsuit, but he's up against his nemesis of 20 years, Phil Ivey, who's holding King-Jack suited. Ivey raises to $75,000. Most players would probably fold in Daniel's spot.
No choice, can't fold it. Gotta see a flop in the big blind.
There's the call. So it's Daniel versus Phil.
Ivey is 64% favorite for now, but the flop comes 8-6-6 and Negreanu hits trips.
I don't see Phil falling for this.
Phil checks too. I don't know how, but he can somehow feel Daniel is strong here.
A king on the turn.
Now I see him falling for it a little.
Negreanu wants Phil second-guessing every assumption. Wants him trapped between is he bluffing and is he setting me up? What looks like hesitation is actually misdirection. This is less about cards, more about control.
Daniel leads. Phil now with top pair.
Even if you think Daniel has a 6, you can't just go folding top pair.
Negreanu's sizing here leaves Ivey about 3.5 to 1 on a call. And with top pair, that's usually a no-brainer. But what Daniel's really doing here is laying the groundwork for the river. He's planting the seed that says, if you call now, you're going to have to call big later. This is psychological compounding. Pressure applied in stages. Daniel is hoping that Phil did indeed hit that king on the turn, and he's going to try to make him sweat like a maniac.
He calls. The river is a jack.
Wow, Daniel is running better than Prefontaine.
Daniel value bets his trips. Phil forced to call with top 2.
Nope.
So obvious you have a 6. Got 350.
Trip 6s. Phil shows King Jack for top 2. Daniel's trip 6s take 5.
Good call, good call. Good thing you didn't raise. That was smart. You know what you're doing.
Tom Dwan looks down at pocket 7s on the button. Peter 3-bets to $7,200 from the small blind with ace-5 suited, the classic light squeeze that leans on his perceived range advantage and punishes wide opens. It folds out a chunk of Dwan's air while still having blockers and playability when called. Against Dwan, though, that kind of hand rarely wins the pot uncontested. Dwan calls for solid reasons. Pocket 7s have real showdown value, don't fear most flops, and crucially can cooler top pair ranges by upgrading to sets on ace-high or 10-high textures. Flatting also preserves position and a healthy SPR, letting him navigate post-flop without bloating the pot pre. The flop comes ace-7-10. Peter fires $5,500 into the pot. From his seat, this board is his. The 3-better owns more strong ace-X, and C-betting denies equity from backdoor suits and gutters like King-Queen or Queen-Jack. Dwan isn't buying. With middle set, he turns that auto C-bet into a lever, bumping it to $16,000. The raise does three things. It taxes all Broadway draws immediately. It announces that Peter won't get to set the pace for cheap, and it starts building a pot that can comfortably play for stacks by the river. Peter calls, consistent with top pair, decent kicker hands, some sticky queens and jacks with back doors, and the occasional trap. He keeps his range wide enough to fight future streets while not clarifying where he's at. The turn is the queen, tightening ranges and connecting with Broadway draws. Peter now leads for $15,000, trying to seize the initiative back on a card that improves many of his semi-bluffs. This stab is less pure value and more about denying a free river to King Jack, Queen Jack, and Jack 9, while forcing Dwan to declare strength or fold middling hands. The lead also subtly caps him. When the small blind block bets on this texture, he's less likely to hold sets that slow played the flop and more likely on one pair, ace-x or a queen, that picked up equity. Tom Dwan doesn't hesitate. He raises to $48,000. A size that polarizes his range and puts every draw in the vice. It punishes the block bet, prices out those 12 to 15 outer combos, and reclaims initiative so he dictates the river. Just as important, the raise calibrates the stacks. After this, the remaining SPR is low enough that any blank lets him jam cleanly, while even scary rivers have already been charged a premium.
Wow, all in. And a snap call. $262,000 pot. Peter is drawing dead. Tom makes a full house on the river.
Brandstrom is looking down at King 3 offsuit, but he's heads up against Suitsor, who raised to $900,000 with 6-3 suited.
Does not mix in the re-raise, just a call. Hello, nurse. OMG.
Full house for Brandstrom. Trip threes for Suitsor.
Brandstrom checks. Textbook trap play. He's got the board absolutely crushed. And by checking, he's giving Suitsor the green light to bet with all his bluffs, value hands, and even air.
He might be tempted not to check raise here, but we can see if he plays it quick, all of the chips are going to be going into the middle.
Here comes the C-bet. 700,000 into 2.2 million.
A standard continuation bet. But in reality, he's walking straight into quicksand. With trip threes, he's betting for value and protection, expecting to get called by weak kings, pocket pairs, or even some ace-high floats. From Brandstrom's perspective, this is perfect. His check has worked.
You can only play this slow, right? You've just got so much of this, and it's so unlikely that your opponent does. What can you do?
Oh, come on.
Jeez.
The turn comes 6 of diamonds, and Brandstrom checks again. It's a brilliant move because it keeps the door wide open for Suitsor to keep betting.
Does Brandstrom want to now start getting all the chips in on the turn?
Suitsor fires 1.7 million. This bet makes perfect sense from his perspective, and Brandstrom has checked twice, showing no aggression.
You gotta just call again and go for value on the river, and you are gonna get it.
The 10 of hearts lands on the river. And once again, Brandstrom checks. He's played this hand perfectly so far. By checking here, he's saying, I don't have a strong hand. You're totally safe to bet again.
The check raise on the river means he'll get to play for all of the chips.
The nonchalant 6 million bet.
Suitsor falls for it completely unaware he's about to get wrecked. But after investing so much, can he actually fold here?
All in.
There's the shove. Checks his hand. Snap calls. Thinks it's all over, but it is not.
Too excited. No.
House over house. Ridiculously sick cooler.
$383,000 pot.
Ryan is looking down on ace-deuce suited. He got involved in a few bad beats that night, but little does he know the worst is yet to come. Nick Airball takes the button and turns pre-flop into a leverage spot built on position and blockers. His small 3-bet keeps his range wide and the stacks deep, daring the blinds to define themselves out of position. Ryan answers with a chunky 4-bet from the blind, the classic polarized blend of premiums and suited wheel aces that block 5-bet value. Nick's 5-bet to 33K is deliberately petite and keeps everything playable. That sizing telegraphs polarization 2 hands happy to shovel later, and a few suited high-card bluffs that block premium combos and still see flops well. King 9 suited is exactly that kind of wolf in sheep's clothing. It removes King X from Ryan, plays clean on Broadway boards, and retains disguised equity on monotone textures. Ryan's call with ace-2 suited preserves his 4-bet bluffs and defends his story, but it consigns him to the worst seat in a 5-bet pot and leaves him short on nuttiness unless he specifically shows up with the ace of hearts.
68,000 almost already in the middle.
The flop is a monotone Broadway dream for the button, and Nick has the dream within the dream king of hearts and 9 of hearts for the straight flush. On these boards, the 5-better naturally owns the suited high card advantage, so his small continuation bet works on every level. It pressures ace-high and medium pairs. It denies a cheap look to hands with a single heart, and it looks perfectly routine whether he's bluffing or holding the nuts. Ryan's call keeps his range wide but already shaky. With ace-2 of diamonds, he has no flush equity, no pair, and no blocker to the nut region Nick actually represents. He's floating almost entirely on the belief that later aggression will fold out hands like red queens or a single king of hearts. The problem is structural. Without the ace of hearts in his hand, his story is missing its cornerstone. Every call he makes builds a pot he'll be forced to bluff later with nothing to lean on. The turn is a blank for Ryan's real hand and a test of discipline. When Nick bets again for 26K, it's the kind of second barrel that keeps pressure on weak pairs and teases calls from single heart holdings. While we wait for Ryan's decision, I would be very grateful if you hit the like button. It helps out a lot. Thank you.
What is Ryan doing? He raises.
Ryan turns to the only weapon he has and check raises to 80K. On paper, it's a move that can make sense. A blind who 4-bet pre and check the flop can credibly represent slow-played ace-high flushes or overpairs containing a big heart. The trouble is combinatorics. Against Nick's 5-bet range full of king-high and ace-high suited broadways, you need the ace of hearts or king of hearts in hand to strip value from his continuing region. Without it, you're bluffing into a range that simply doesn't fold.
You can see Ryan rolling his eyes at himself.
Nick's decision to flat rather than jam is the final layer of control. It keeps Ryan's bluffs alive, invites another shove from weaker value, and guarantees a river spot where his straight flush is untouchable.
All in.
And Ryan shoves. And loses a $383,000 pot.
Ah, what a stupid
Wow.
You're just... Never mind. Choking freaking
Finally happened.
8-3.
Ronaldo is looking down on Queen 9 offsuit. Sam opens to 25K with the deuces because pairs from early position play clean and he can represent a lot of high card boards later. Ronaldo flat calls with Queen 9 and takes position. Against an UTG range, this is thin but serviceable.
This is one of the highlights of my poker career.
The flop is a dream for Sam. From early position, he owns tons of ace-x and is supposed to c-bet this texture at a high frequency, so declining the bet removes aces from his perceived range and caps him in Ronaldo's eyes. With quads, there is no equity to protect and no need to deny cards, so the value is in deception. The check also invites Ronaldo to bet turns very liberally, either for thin value with a pair or as a stab into apparent weakness. The queen on the turn does exactly that. Ronaldo improves and leads for value and protection, targeting exactly the hands Sam just represented by checking small pairs, king-high floats, and random broadways that will fold. Sam's call keeps the narrative intact and maximizes the number of river bets he collects. A raise would narrow Ronaldo's range to strong queens and few better hands while killing the bluffs that the flop check induced. The river 9 upgrades Ronaldo to 2-pair and introduces the value card incentive. Once he places the value card, folding to a raise sends him to the cage and costs an orbit, so his threshold to call rises dramatically. He bets again, believing he is extracting from the very capped range Sam created on the flop. Ace-highs that peeled turn, worse queens, and curious 1-pair hands that will pay. From a technical standpoint, his combo blocks some of Sam's potential 2-pair calls like ace-queen and ace-9, which should make him more cautious against a raise, but the show format pushes him in the opposite direction.
Come join me, Sam. Pretty cozy over here.
Sam chooses a raise that looks bluff-capable. It is large enough to feel like a challenge, yet small enough that a proud value card bettor convinces himself to look him up. The sizing also mirrors a common live bluff pattern, raise smaller than pot, as if trying to buy it rather than extract. Because Sam checked the flop and only called the turn, his range appears light on full houses and heavy on missed floats. In a normal game, that perception might get him some folds from 2-pair, but here the rule skews the decision.
Call.
He does call.
Wow.
Sorry. Just didn't want to slow roll Ronaldo.